PPT on the
Yes, ma'am. So,
platform?
we have Rohit sir with us in a backend, and he will share the rights as soon as your turn comes.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
right.
perfect, perfect. Thank
So,
you so much.
We
right,
still wait for Julie ji. I think she is not here.
right.
No
She'll
problem,
be
sir. We'll
joining.
wait, we'll wait. No problem.
Yes, Julie ji is here. All of us are here now.
Yeah. Uh, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
very
We
Yes,
can
clear.
hear you.
yes.
Okay.
Good morning,
Utsav,
ma'am.
good morning. You'll need to give me permission to share my PPT.
Certainly, ma'am. As soon as your turn comes, we'll share the
Right.
rights with you.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So, with the due permission of Nakul sir, I'll start the today's program.
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ever have your imagination or an innovation being copied by someone? Ever have you faced a problem where another organization copies your design, creatives, ideas, and even the name? Then, my dear friends, you are not alone facing these IP infringements and copyright issues all alone. This is the problem for masses. Yes, you heard it right. Intellectual property forms a core of any business today. As businesses keep growing, they need to sanitize their intellectual property has increased phenomenally. Businesses need to align their interest with intellectual property management in terms of research, development, creation, and innovation. A healthy IP portfolio will tend to increase the valuation of the business significantly and also juxtaposing it to the attention of the lot of investors, acquirers, and allied interests. The businesses, especially MSMEs of India, are continuously wondering how to strengthen and align intellectual property with their goals, and that occurs, then these businesses shall catapult to newer horizons faster and better in a better way. India has risen significantly in the Global Innovation Index, which proves that it is a serious force to reckon with in terms of innovation in the years to come. So, keeping the whole agenda in mind and the India's business landscape and recent shifts in the paradigm of intellectual property rights in context with businesses, especially micro and small ones, ASSOCHAM, Gujarat Council proposes and now has come up with a virtual conference on intellectual property right, aligning businesses with IP management. The concrete objective behind today's virtual conference is to make businesses aware about the recent advancements in the IPR sector, how businesses can align themselves better with IP management, and along with that, we are here to discuss a lot of insights from the industry people and basically the case studies of recent cases where these IP infringements have had happened. So to start with today's program, and to address this problem and to give a strategic solution to this, we today have a young and dynamic group of intellectuals joined from various corners of India for this timely session. To start with, I'd like to request our chairman, sir, Sri Nakul Sher Dalal, to extend a welcome address. And before that, I like to introduce him. Dr. Nakul Sher Dalal is the founder of NS Legal. He's the Master of Laws from Queen Mary University of London, specialized in commercial and corporate laws. He has been in law practice since more than a decade now and advises the domestic international industry all across the spectrums of IP issues. His expertise dwell in advisory opinions, filing IP applications, handling settlements, mediations, drafting and documentations, and whatnot. Apart from his professional commitments, he loves to educate and enlighten his fellow countrymen and statesmen over IP. Without taking much time, I'd like to request Sir and welcome Sir, to please extend a welcome address to all our eminent dignitaries present in the session. Sir.
Thank you, Utsav, for such warm introduction. You are always very modest office bearer, and I love that about you. So, hello everyone, speakers and dignitaries. on behalf of SOCHM Gujarat Council and as a chairman of the IP Council of the SOCHM Gujarat, I welcome all of you to be a part of this virtual IP conference. Being an intellectual property expert, I can tell you that there has been an increase in the manner in which the expertise as well as the intellectual property scenario in India is evolving. So let us understand just an introduction on intellectual property. So intellectual property is an idea which dates back to 500 BC. It came about because the Greek state of Sybaris allowed its citizens to obtain a patent for any new refinement in luxury. Since then, refinements have been made, but the intent of laws has always remained the same. The laws are created to encourage people's creativity and make it possible for the inventors to reap the benefits of their original ideas. Every business will have some form of intellectual property, and it is not just limited to those who deal in technology. So to appreciate the importance of IP, and the nature of different IP rights, we have come about in this conclave where intellectual properties will be extensively discussed. Having said that, I also want to state that strong IPR system encourage inventive and creative activities that are seen as an important tool of long-term economic growth. The competitive advantage that an industry or a company may gain with a basic innovation is likely to be longer lasting than that obtained merely from an improved innovation, assuming that the technological barriers to competitors taking advantage of similar innovations or brands are approximately equivalent, since a basic innovation or creativity establishes a new class of product or service. Entry of competition requires that that opportunity provided by that class is recognized by a potential competitor before it attempts to enter the market. So protecting clients' invaluable intellectual properties day in and day out, by the way of various agreements, documents, applications, and assignments. I have rather come to the crossroads of thoughts that I keep writing about in a book that I may finish soon, maybe in a couple of years. I keep wondering whether excessive IPR protection is likely to lead to an inadequate dissemination of new knowledge, which in itself could slow down the growth to the extent that access to the existing technology is necessary to induce further innovation. Because I say that because I look at successful precedents like OpenAI, among others, who welcome innovators, creators to jump on the research and do better. So that's the world I keep on looking and tell myself that eventually this pool has to increase, leading to better technologies and a better human insight for the future. So with that, I would like to conclude my welcome address and thank the organizers, SOCHM Gujarat Council, as well as the supporters of this conference, and who have enabled me to an opportunity to hear as well as interact with such insightful speakers as well as participants. So with that, I hand the stage back to Utsav. Please go ahead.
Brief about the issue, the topic which you have covered today, and all the insights which you shared with us. It was a very wonderful and yet composed welcome address extended by you. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Julie Desai. She's the lawyer and human rights activist, and she works under the umbrella of Mehul Wakari Associates. She's a gem of a person. She has worked with underprivileged girls and women for improvement of their lives. She's an ardent advocate for girls' education, working towards the improvement of improvement in political, economical, social, and health status of women for sustainable development in India. And I have personally heard from ma'am on various burning issues in society, and she's very active in women, for women rights and women upliftment thing. So without taking much time, I'd like to, request ma'am to please address the today's timely topic. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And I request Rohit sir to please share the PPT rights.
Thank you so much, Utsav. I'll wait for Rohit to share my presentation. I still don't have the rights, but anyway, I will, at least till I get my rights, I'll talk about it. Basically, I am here not as a lawyer per se, even though I'm a lawyer, but I'm definitely not into intellectual property rights. So I will leave the intellectual property rights issues to Rafael and Nakul and the rest of the speakers who are the experts and who are working in dedicated that field. I just want to introduce myself as the activist and what I'm doing. The reason I'm here is that because I interact with so many startups and entrepreneurs, basically women startups and women entrepreneurs from around the world. And I understand their issues. In fact, I have mentored them as well. I'm still, Utsav, I'm still waiting for...
Yes, ma'am. Rohit sir has already shared rights with you.
let me... I'm not able to share it. It's not giving me the...
Okay, so there is a button down, at the WebEx platform. It
No,
says share.
that I have, but it keeps telling me
ahead.
open the system preference.
Okay,
Wait.
okay. So if you can quickly email it to me and I'll run it from my own end.
Let me see. I'm just trying here. Okay, I will email it to you, sir. I've shared it with you, sir. In the meanwhile, I'll just talk about what I do. So basically, as part of my presentation, I'm a lawyer by profession, but since many years, I've gone into the field of promoting women entrepreneurs as well as girls' education, skill development, sustainability, various issues, which I will run through my slides very quickly once I have my presentation. The reason for me to talk about myself is to understand, for the audience to understand where I'm coming from and what I'm going to talk about as part of my presentation. So there are a few umbrellas under which I work. My main profession, which is Mehul Bakharia Associates. Then I have a YouTube channel where I feature women from around the world. This YouTube channel was started during the lockdown, where I was basically wanted to, talk about issues faced by various women and how they've overcome challenges and they've been successful. So these inspiring women I've been able to, feature on my YouTube channel. Utsav, next, please. So I have various playlists under my YouTube channel, but then there are a couple of playlists where, I promote women entrepreneurs, where there are two playlists, which are main playlists where a lot of women are featured who are entrepreneurs and startups. One is Sustainable Future, where I talk about all businesses who are sustainable businesses. And there are enterprising youngsters who are small youngsters who started their either startup or they've started their own small businesses without knowing where the future may take them. Next, please. So Laws Development and Research Foundation, I want to talk about this is because this is a charitable organization. I am a trustee of this organization, where I really would, with the 1.5 years of interacting with women from around the world and businesses and startups from around the world, I want to include a very important aspect, research and development of IP for the startups and entrepreneurs. So that's a reason I mentioned Laws Development and Research Foundation. Basically, as the name suggests, it's a research foundation where we work with students and we work in an advisory capability. Next, please. Aesthetic Faces Foundation, what Utsav talked about in my introduction, is the foundation with which I work. Mainly all my social work is done by them. He's already talked about girls' education, sustainability. I have already talked about skill development in something we create. I want to talk a little more about skill development because just to give you an example, a few years back, I was working with Central Sabarmati Jail, which is one of the largest jail in the state, in Gujarat per se, where we used to do skill development. We started doing skill development. And it just happened that because our dedicated focus was on women, we got success stories. Some of the women who had learned skills with us through our organization, they went out, and there were some success stories where they create their own small businesses, and they settled themselves. There was an economical growth for those women, and that's the reason petty crimes were, in fact, those women became advocates for us to stay away from the petty crimes. So it was received so well that from the Sabarmati jail authorities, central jail authorities, they requested us to run a similar skill program for male inmates as well. So skill development is something which was very close to our heart and which was critical for us. Next, please. This is a very interesting quote I came across. That's the reason I have listed it here. Most important thing about intellectual property versus creative expression. I think we are living in a world of creativity now. Everybody's talking about innovation. Everybody's talking about creativity and how to protect our creativity or our ideas. So the copyrights law was created not to stifle creativity, but to encourage creativity by Shepard Fairey. I think it is a very interesting quote, and I will talk about it when I talk about some of the entrepreneurs or startups I have featured. Next, please. So, as I have stated that I won't be talking about IP per se, I will be talking about entrepreneurs and startups. And the women entrepreneurs and startups, I worked it and I have understood their problems. Next, please. Next, please. So, I've been talking to various people, and I think there is a very vague understanding of entrepreneur and startup. A lot of women entrepreneurs, a lot of women startups I work with, and I basically with the dialogue I was trying to make them understand that so new business, if you're self-employed, what is very important when you're starting a new business, that what is your end goal? And in perspective of IP, it is very important. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business and you want to sustain that, you don't want to grow eventually in the future, even though you were young, it is sort of a hobby which you may or may not create it into a larger business. Then IP would, obviously intellectual property would matter to you, but it does not matter as much as your end intentions are creating a larger startup where you want to grow exponentially, and then a lot of other issues, legal issues, will come into picture. We will talk about that. Next, please. So, when we talk about, starting any a woman or a girl is talking about starting a business, you apply for business license, you register your business, getting tax ID, you look at industry regulations, you look at other regulations, you look at business plan. But how many of these women would think about IP? I think it is nearly none, because I have interacted with so many of them. And I think very few, even though some of them do have copyrights with their logo, or it's just that the very basic rights, even if they are entrepreneur or startup, irrespective. Only they talk about the basic IP rights. Nobody's talking about, the larger IP rights. And that is something I would leave it to the experts to talk about, that why is that scenario and how we can change that. Because I think if we want these entrepreneurs or startups to grow in the future, and in fact they eventually they think of selling their brands or creating their brand, then how intellectual property right becomes very, very important. Because I think most of the entrepreneurial startup does not think about intellectual property rights when they are starting a new business. Either it can be an entrepreneur or a startup. Next, please. So very recently, because I was interacting with so many women and I was featuring so many women from around the world, a lot of them are new startup, a lot of them are doing, a lot of them are tech entrepreneurs. I started an Instagram live session. This is a very small snapshot of an Instagram live conversation I do. I do it on Saturday, and I promote women startup. And then, now the social media has become a big platform for branding and, expanding their businesses. So my Instagram live talks about key strategies for women entrepreneurs and branding. And because I have been speaking to so many women and interacting with them who are, have created their own startup and their own entrepreneurship, their own ventures, I've realized that there is a dire need to talk about intellectual property. So that's when I dedicated a whole series on IP rights, where I have featured a couple of them, and I think I will keep that conversation going as and when I feel that there is some new law which has come into picture and people do not understand that. So I've realized the challenges faced by these startups and these women. That's a reason I dedicated a series on IP rights. Next, please. So let us start talking about the startup. When we talk about the startup, generally people talk about the foundation element and society first principles. There was a survey done by Harvard Business Review, and these are key points they come with. And then they talk about adaptable long-term strategies. So when we talk about adaptable long-term strategies, how many of women entrepreneur or women startup think about intellectual properties and how to include those strategies into their long-term adaptable strategies? I think, as I told you earlier, nearly none. So adopting such standards, startups can increase odds of long-term sustainability. When you're talking about a startup, you're talking long-term, and when you're talking long-term, you have to have IP strategies as part of your business plan into place before you can think of, somewhere in future when, I am sure that the expert will talk about it. The value added with your IP rights, when you have branded your startup in a future, and when you are valuing your startup, what is the percentage of IP which is included into your valuation? That's something very important, and that's something we need to understand. Next, please. So, I very strongly believe, after speaking to all these women, that early stage ventures most valuable asset is IP startup. To acquire and leverage the most value from existing IP assets. But I think that is something, again, a very vague concept with most of the startups, and that is something you need to understand. As I've told you that, people just take the basic IP rights and they do not understand the long-term, gain from the IP portfolio. And, when we are talking about startup, eventually looking at investor, because when you want to expand, you will need an investor. In fact, I have one, individual who's a friend, I wouldn't name him. He in fact, goes to a lot of incubation centers and he sits and understands the ideas. And then if he thinks that this idea is great, then he would invest into that startup. But before doing that, I think your legal strategies has to be in place, because most of the investor who's done this before, it can be any kind of investment you are looking at for your startup. The first thing they will do during a due diligence is that you have your IP rights or not. Otherwise, they will not invest into your startup. So I think that is something very important for most of the startup to understand. Next, please. Now since post-COVID, I think it has become very important. Everybody's shifting onto an online model. And most of us do not even understand it. I think the laws are also evolving around the virtual, platforms. I think there was a big surge, and I especially want to talk about AI. I think with AI, privacy and behavior manipulation concerns modern tech companies today face are significant and a very complex problems. And I think a lot of experts are dealing with that. They are trying to understand the laws, and those laws are also evolving due to the large surge. And I think it is as post-COVID, there is something else which I want to talk about. We have one of the speakers today who's works in sustainability, Rucha Bhandari. I think a long-term future any startup should look at. So it has to be, you have to have all portfolio in place. It has to be sustainable. It has to, the society is concerned. That's when the privacy laws comes into picture. The society's concern or an individual, privacy concerns are also very important for you to look at a long-term goals, because that's way only you will sustain your business. Otherwise, you're looking at short-term economic growth, and then it will end. Next, please. Next, please. So since we are talking about tech startup, Elena Timofeeva, she was with KPMG. Now she's the principal at Oliver Wyman in UK. And I wanted to get some of the ideas from all these young entrepreneurs about what is IP to you. And since she's a multi-award winning professional in cloud, data, and digital, there are some issues she talked about with me. So in her opinion, any business starting point with IP is understanding what exactly they have. And that is something I think most of the startups do not look at. Goods and services can be protected by more than one IP. As I told you earlier, that most of the startups are looking at the basic IP rights, and they don't look at the whole intellectual property as a whole. And a bundle of IP protection is stronger than one individual protection to creating your valuation eventually in future if you're working with a startup. IP is an important not only for business but also for its potential. So potential I've already talked about. Something very interesting she told me, and I think that is basically something the expert and everybody else should ponder on, is that smaller startups and Microsoft. So she talked about it, that Microsoft has all the IP rights, obviously, to larger corporation, and they know that they have pirated version of Microsoft softwares which are downloaded. And then eventually when you grow, you become so addicted to those softwares that you have to download their official. So this is a strategy adopted by Microsoft. But smaller startups also should start thinking about it. They cannot afford, Microsoft is too large a corporation. They cannot think about doing that. I think they should have their IP rights before they go further. Next, please. I think I've already talked about that, but let's go through it. Some of the risk of social media and brands. it has become essential for larger businesses also to use social media as a platform for their branding. But at the same time, there are a lot of risks involved. And if you do not understand the legal aspects of the social media marketing, I think Rafael did talk about it eventually. Rafael, would you be kind enough to talk about a little more in your presentation, please? So there are a few things, but legal problems are, very severe. And if you do not understand the privacy legislation and laws regarding spam, copyright, and other issues, then your startup will get into trouble eventually. Next, please. So this is the slide where I talk about, we have two experts today, Nakul Sher Dalal, who's the chair of the IP committee at SHM, and we have Rafael, who's one of the speakers. So I did a very interesting 2 live sessions as I was talking about my IP series. One was Rafael, where Rafael talked about managing moment marketing, which was a very, very interesting subject, and I would request Rafael to talk about it a little here. And then I talked about branding, creativity, and innovation with Nakul Sher Dalal. I have done a couple of live sessions with Nakul. So I think very interesting sessions. And, this is my way of, giving back to those startups and women who are on my platform. The reason for doing this 2 series was for them, because talking to them, I understood that these are the problems they do not understand. That's the reason I did this 2 live sessions. And I know that my IP series, there are many more to come, because I strongly believe that any entrepreneur or startup, IP is a very integral part of their business. Next, please. So there are, these are some of the questions, which is, in conclusion, these are some of the questions I will put forward to the experts here, that how IP can help is something, a question all startup or our entrepreneurs, that is IP an asset, how IP protection can help, what can help them accomplish, and what am I trying to achieve, or can IP help with this? So these are some of the questions. In conclusion, will be left for my the other speakers. Next, please. These are 2 women entrepreneurs. Very quickly, I'll talk about Victory. Has a Voice It magazine, which is it is run by a charitable trust, which is a international magazine where she features inspiring individuals on a print medium. But she has also taken a very basic IP rights. Vis-a-vis Simran Chabra, she is here in Ahmedabad. Simran was, when she was starting up, she was just out of her school. She came and showed me some very interesting prints. She works with fashion. So I said, Simran, since you were just starting up, do you want me to introduce you to some of the businesses who can, take your fabric? So she says, Auntie, I'm so sorry, I won't be able to do that. I said, why you won't be able to do it? I don't understand it much, but my lawyer says no. I said, which lawyer are you talking about? And she said, oh, they are taking some, IP rights. That's what the lawyer told me, that lawyer said that you do not. So I really applaud such entrepreneurs, even though not understanding IP as much, but doing everything right from the beginning. So these are 2, extremes of the entrepreneurs I'm talking about. Next, please.
I'm really sorry, but time is is going
Just
fast.
a couple
So,
of
yeah.
slides. I will very quickly finish. Thank you, sir. Frosina, Frosina, very quickly, I'll talk about it. I'll not go into details. Frosina has 2 startups. She's invested into SN Yachts, which is a yacht which is for hire from Greece. And that is a larger startup. So there she has taken all IP rights. And Frobulous, which is another startup, which is a fashion startup. And there she has not taken all the IP rights. So even though one entrepreneur, a single person with 2 startups, and one has taken all the rights and one hasn't. So why? That is a question, which is again in conclusion. Next, please. Jacqueline Hudson is with Lux Digital, which is one of the, a very large tech company. And, as Jacqueline states very, very interestingly, that chicken and egg situation for any startup. Should I get my startup running, or should I take my IP rights? So that is another question which I would like to pose to the experts. Next, please. So thank you so much. I have listed my email address, julie@vakharelaw.com. So if you have anybody wants to reach out to me, please do so. Thank you so much. Thank you, Utsav. And thank you, Nakul, for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for for your deep insights and the valuable insights you shared. And you carried a long journey, which has definitely helped a lot of attendees in understanding the subject in a very deeper manner. So thank you so much once again, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation and time. So I'd like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Sejal Purohit. So Ms. Sejal Purohit is a founder for Seven Springs. She has a very beautiful journey on her, entrepreneurship and in the startup which she has all rolled in. So without taking much time, I'd like to invite Ms. Sejal for her address. Ms. Sejal.
Rohit, madam is audible or not? Rohit?
No, sir. Madam is not audible as of now.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are audible now.
Video is on?
No, video is not on.
So I can see.
That is impossible.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This side is Sejal Purohit, and I'm, as Utsav mentioned, that I'm the founder of Seven Spring. It's a new venture. We just did the inception last year only. So today I'm going to talk about the intellectual property rights, as that's the topic. But my main focus is going to be about the MSMEs and the SME sector. So let's start with the basic details. What is intellectual property rights? So intellectual property rights are the rights given to persons over their creation of mind. So it's kind of give them a right, kind of exclusive right for the specific period of time for their designs. So, they can protect their designs or their innovation. And apart from that, intellectual property rights actually refers to the intellectual creations like logos, images, innovations, or computer codes, or designs, or artistic work, things like that. And all of us know there are 5 types of intellectual rights: are copyrights, patent, trademark, trade designs, and trade secrets. So if I start with the MSMEs and SMEs, so this is a myth that intellectual property rights is actually exclusively for the larger segments. Reason is that because they are aware about the intellectual property rights, their benefits, and their longer run benefits as well. And but it's a myth actually, because MSMEs or SMEs, they don't know about the intellectual property rights and their benefits. So from my viewpoint, there are so many benefits of intellectual property rights if you get it, register your patent, logo, or your copyrights. The reason is that, first of all, competitive advantage over your competitors. Second thing is that one can protect their product and services. And third thing is that it's a kind of, one can create a separate revenue stream. So there are 3 benefits. So why only larger firms, and why not MSMEs and SMEs? Because if we see the larger picture, the major employment in the country is coming from this SMEs and MSMEs sector. Apart from that, the major revenue generation, the chunk which government is getting, is from the MSMEs and SMEs. So from my viewpoint, government should encourage them. Government should educate them for the IP. Government should have a training program for that. Recently, there is a program which is L2 Pro program, which is a very famous model. and a very proven model in countries like UK and Germany, and it's a very successful model. And that platform, I feel government should promote it more and more to bring that awareness for the SMEs and MSMEs. Because see, there are a couple of reasons. Because SMEs and MSMEs, if I talk about, they feel that it is important to protect their tangible assets like their machineries or their raw materials, or their laborers or things like that, which they can feel and they can touch, but not like intellectual properties or intangible assets. So one should know the benefit. One should know that this is going to be their asset for the longer period of time if they are protecting their intellectual properties. Second thing is that what is happening is that the major innovation is coming from the MSMEs and SME sector. But because of they are not aware about this IP rights, the bigger firms who have a funds, who have a better team, who have a better R&D team, who have a better legal team, they modified their innovation and they register that. So it's a kind of opportunity loss for that respected company. But I mean, actually not only for that company, but for the entire sector. We are not letting that sector to grow further, or we are not letting that MSME or SMEs to grow further and become a bigger firm. So what is happening is the wealth gap. The bigger firm stays bigger firms, and the smaller firms is going more and more smaller. Reason because of the things like this. So I feel that government should have a proper training program. That should be the proper rule book, that if one is having this kind of innovations or this kind of thing, they can actually apply for their copyrights or for the trademark or their patent, and the kind of benefits they can get it out of it. Because ultimately, if we see the larger picture, it is going to help the entire country on a macro level. Because if SMEs and MSMEs are progressing, then no one is going to get benefit other than government out of it. So I mean, this is what today I wanted to conclude, that government should actually encourage them. And knowledge-based innovation is very crucial for any company's growth. Because if you are thinking that if you're getting a cheaper raw material or cheaper labor, but that is something where we are thinking on a very short term. If we want to think on a long term, or if we want to think from the larger picture, then definitely intellectual property right is something which can give a benefit in a longer run. And the long-term impact is going to be good for the sectors as well, for the government as well. And last but not the least, which I want to include in my speech, is that even I belong to the SME sector. Yeah, even I want to grow bigger in my life. So, but if I talk about this L2 Pro platform, but there is still not much details about it. There is not much, the process I know about it. So I feel that there are players like me as well who wants to grow, wants to know about their intellectual property rights, or that it's because it's not easy. It's a very tedious process. So I feel that all of us can actually bring that awareness, and government should help SMEs and MSMEs to grow further by promoting and by bringing the awareness of intellectual property rights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your beautiful journey which you have shared with us, and all the experiences which you have shared with all the attendees in today's program. We are very glad to find that you have a special focus on MSMEs, and to help MSMEs even in a time like such, which is very crisisful and crucial time for each one of the MSME. So we are very thankful to you for such a good thought which you have shared. And next, we are moving to our another speaker, Mr. Rafael Pereira. Mr. Rafael Pereira is an intellectual property strategist working at the intersection of law and business relating to technology, entertainment, arts, and culture. He's the managing partner of Tinnets, a new age intellectual property law firm where he works with creators across disciplines and entrepreneurs across sectors. So I request Mr. Rafael Pereira to please share your insights and timely address for this session. Please, sir.
Thank you, Utsav, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Nakul, for the invitation. Utsav, I've sent you my PPT, and if you can share that. In the meantime, just to maybe, I will a cursory kind of introduction into what I'm going to be speaking about. The first time I learned of ASSOCHAM or actually attended one of their events was about 7 or 8 years ago, and at that point I was very confused as to what the difference was between a startup and an SME. And I think through this presentation today, what I'm going to point out really one of those big differences and why kind of startups rise and fall the way they do, and why kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because I have an equal amount of SMEs or businesses that I treat as SMEs, and an equal amount of them who I treat as startups. I mean, the government has not made any distinction, but I believe it is the culture that one imbibes in an organization, in your business, and the way you use that culture to further build your business, and then what results from that is your business strategy. So right to the name of today's session, building businesses through IP blocks. And I'm going to explain in basic terms what are these IP blocks. I know Lakshmi and the others will really deal with them, and I don't think you need me to speak about that. So if you could go to the next slide, Utsav, everyone will see that intellectual property or IP has two major branches, is classified into two major branches. One is copyright and related rights. This is for most of your creative expression. And then the other is industrial property. So intellectual property applications in an industrial environment or setting is considered industrial property. And if you, I'm going to now briefly break down what, I'll talk a bit about copyright, and then briefly name all the other types of intellectual property that form a part of industrial property. If you could move on to the next slide. All right, so copyright, I'm sure this is a very cliche line that you may have heard multiple times, that copyright is a bundle of rights. Firstly, what is copyright? Copyright is a law which in India kind of bestows upon you the right or recognizes the right for the creator of a work to create copies, to distribute those copies, to broadcast those copies, to publicly perform that work, to make an adaptation of the work or a translation of the work. And the way I would like to see copyright internationally is copyright is a negative right, which is it's bestowed upon you, but what protections governments around the world grant you should be negative protections. So, for example, how you have Article 21 in our Constitution, which says no man shall be deprived of the right to life, right? The same way, I believe copyright should be protected, not just in India, but around the world. Hopefully, I'll get my way one day. But with copyright, it protects all forms of creative expression, but the forms of creative expression are classified into literary works, artistic works, dramatic works, musical works, cinematograph films, and sound recordings. And depending on the kind of work, the author is defined under the Copyright Act in India, and then explaining the bundle itself, you have economic rights and you have moral rights. So these are the two branches of this bundle that we mentioned. And remember when I spoke about earlier, the right to reproduce the work or display the work or publicly perform it, all of those form part of your economic rights, and your moral rights are majorly two. The right of attribution, that is to be known as the creator of the work or the parent of the work. And the second is the right of integrity. And this is something that's very controversial today. The right of integrity pertains to having a say of how, not only how the work goes out into the public, but the circumstances in which it is displayed, in which it is reworked or distributed. And this right, I mean, using this right is how major visual artists, sculptors and others enforce or get galleries to change the color of the wall on which their painting hangs. So moral rights are really powerful. We try to subdue them here in India, and especially in the media and entertainment industry. But this is the extent to which this right extends. So that's copyright in a nutshell. The next is trademarks. If you could go to the next slide also. Yeah. So what are trademarks? Trademarks are essentially a group of words or symbols or graphic notations used in conjunction with a product or service. So I'd like you to, in your mind, understand that there are two ingredients or two parts to a trademark. One is the words or symbols that you use together, and that has to be, it is completely necessary for you to use those words or symbols in conjunction with a product or service. And that makes a mark, what would be otherwise just a mark, a trademark. And trademark, unlike copyright, trademark protection in most jurisdictions around the world is granted, or statutory protection is granted once you've registered your trademark. And there are certain types of trademarks and which you can apply for, including the words, so like the word tin nuts, if you see on the screen at the bottom, just TINNUTS. I can apply for a mark, a word mark for that. For device marks, the entire collateral with the swirling sun and the shadow underneath that, and the words tin nuts, I can apply for that as a device mark. You can also apply for protection of the shape of goods. That's how companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi protect the shape of their bottles, the design of their bottles. There are also there's also a sound mark, smell mark, taste mark, and these some of these don't laugh at me, but these are newer developments. And apparently you can distinguish between the smell of one thing to the other. A lot of perfume brands have been litigating that. But there is also a color mark, a 3D mark, and these are types of marks that you can apply for and get protection for. In some jurisdictions around the world, in India, we've not really explored all of the later ones that I mentioned, but that's trademarks for you in a nutshell. Moving on to, I think, patents is the next one. Or designs. All right. Designs are now, remember when I spoke about copyright and I said artistic work, and artistic work relates to the creative elements of an artistic work. So whether it is a painting, a sculpture, these are creative expressions and artistic expressions. Designs, on the other hand, are functional expressions, of more functional in nature. Although it may look very artistic, but the aspects that are protected under the Designs Act are more functional, to an extent ornamental, but majorly functional in nature. And therefore, you can protect designs of anything from beds to automobiles, to gadgets under the Designs Act. Moving on to the next, which is patents. Now, patents, these really getting into the depth of intellectual property and industrial property here. So patents are kind of inventors, one of inventors' heavy tools in their arsenal. And patent protection extends to inventions. And when I say inventions, there's a hint of the inventive step, which is kind of key to patents. What they protect is they protect inventions that pertain, that have industrial use, a novel invention that has industrial use, and that is key. You have different types of patents in India, and the PTO has been kind of swinging like a pendulum every couple of years in terms of what they will grant and what they wouldn't. You've had product patents for a really long time, only process and back to product and things like that. Right now, one of the biggest battles is patents for software and processes disclosed in the software, but hopefully we'll get there soon. Moving on to the next, which is geographical indications. Now, geographical indications are important facets of intellectual property through which communities of artisans can come together and protect their works. Geographical indications relate to a certain product or service or form of expression coming out of a community or a group of members from a certain, that is linked to a certain geography. So it's very important that it's linked to a certain geography, but also linked to a certain group of members or producers from that geography or region. And geographical, just to name a few geographical indications, you have the Bengal Patachitra and others. You have your Kanjivaram saris. You have a lot of geographical. You have a lot of these forms of artisanal work and creative expression that are actually protected to geographical indications because they can be made in other parts of the country, let's say, because they are those kind of prints or expressions that you've seen, pretty much the same prints and designs, and they've been done for generations, and therefore they're public domain. But geographical indications protects those designs from being called. So let's say Sanganeri prints or Sanganeri or block prints of Rajasthan. You can't call them Sanganeri unless they are from Sanganer. That's the protection that a geographical indication gives you. And it is bestowed upon that community that is producing those works. And we'll move on to the next one, which I think is very important for all the SMEs in attendance, trade secrets. So the first time I actually met Julie was in Ahmedabad a few years ago. And at that point, I had mentioned that I worked a lot in areas of creativity without the law. And some of my clients to date are some of India's most renowned tattoo artists and illusionists and magicians. And while for most of their work and practice, they do have all of these intellectual property rights available to them. But I'd like you to, and the ones I spoke about earlier, but I'd like you to think about magicians. And so I had a client a couple of years ago who had made an entire illusion for a show where he had a box on stage, and through a mechanism, he could switch out 3 people in quick succession. And he believed it had never been done before by any magician, whether it was in Vegas or whether it was in Thailand or anywhere else. And I said, okay, well, if you if you believe it's never been done before, these kind of the pulley mechanism and this design does not exist today, let's go out and make an application, file for a patent. And at that point, I didn't give too much thought into the entire application, but what he did tell me was, he asked me about, the entire process, and I said, okay, you'd have to represent it via a drawing, put out the specifications, and then we'd have to draft the claim, write the claim, and of course that through all of this you're disclosing what you've done. And he said, well, and how long till my patent is granted? And I said, well, it's going to be a couple of years, but at least you can say patent pending and raise some funds from investors. And he said, but no, if it's up there and it's up on the website, it's disclosed the moment I make an application, everyone will know what I'm doing, and there'll be ripoffs, and everyone will know what's happening in this trick. And that really got me thinking. I said, okay, well, this is about 6 years ago, and that really got me thinking, saying, well, here is a person who can, if they want, seek the protection of the law, but it's going to do more harm than good to them. And therefore, you find yourself in an area of creativity without the protection of the law, without the benefit of the law. And that's when I come to trade secrets, because if you think about some of the most important things that you've created, including your business processes, your know-how, the way you protect it is through trade secrets. And this is what, at that point, we had to resort to with my client. So every single person, for protection of trade secrets, there is no formal legislation in India, and they're protected by ways of non-disclosure agreements, and that is across the board. But I'd like you to also think about trade secrets in a global perspective. Some of the most successful businesses in the world, at the core of their business is a trade secret. It's rumored, and examples of that are KFC's 11 herbs and spices. Who knows whether there are actually 11 herbs and spices, if it's just a marketing gimmick, if it's closely guarded or not, we'll never know because it's a trade secret. So trade secrets often take a myth, almost a myth-like status or legend-like status. And you can see that with the Coca-Cola recipe or the Pepsi recipe and things like that. And the reason I say myth or legend-like status is because it's rumored to believe that there are only 3 people in the world that have the recipe with them, and they're never allowed to be on a flight at the same time and things like that. So, I mean, obviously that's the ultimate, that's the epitome of a trade secret, and that's where we all want to get, and that's what we all hope to achieve. But trade secrets, I would say, is one of the most important tools for SMEs today. If you could go to the next slide. All right, so most importantly, your culture for success as an SME. And going back to the title, using IP as building blocks for your business, that's exactly how I positioned it on the screen right now. You can see your business that sits upon a foundation of intellectual property, which could be a combination of trademarks, patents, and designs, and maybe geographical indications under the industrial property bucket. You've got your, on the other side, your forms of creative expression that are protected under the copyright bucket. And right at the center, I've placed these trade secrets for everything else. Just like the famous ad, for everything else, there's MasterCard. I'd like to say for everything else, there's trade secrets. And these trade secrets, if you really define your IP culture in your organization well, that will really lead to success. And when I say IP culture, what I mean by that is, number one, identifying and protecting the IP that you have built in your business, going out, doing the registrations at the right time, not as an afterthought, then enforcing enforcing that portfolio, that IP portfolio that you've created. What I mean by that is if there's someone infringing your work, you need to put them on notice. You need to send out notices and make sure that the market knows that you've taken actions in this regard. And that does two things. One, it sets a precedent for others who may, it's kind of a deterrent for others who may want to use your work without your permission. And they will think 10 or more times before they use your work in the future. The other thing is to other brands, they'd rather approach you and try to work with you than try to seek your forgiveness at a later stage once they've used your mark. When it comes to in finally monetizing your IP portfolio, although I would suggest and I would recommend that you figure out a way to bring your IP portfolio onto your balance sheets. The biggest mistakes, and this is the other differentiating factor between startups and SMEs, is SMEs always forget to include IP and bring on that value into their balance sheets. And I really believe this is why small business owners end up getting raw deals, because the value of their business is sitting outside their balance sheet. It's not even reflected or recorded in their balance sheet. And this ultimately comes from your IP culture. So you may have a CA or an auditor advising you to do something otherwise, but there are also those who can get very creative, and there are many business advisors who would ask you to create SPVs and then acquire the IP from an register the IP under the SPV, and then acquire it to your company at a higher value, just so that higher value comes onto your books. And if you look at some of the recent startups that have IPO'd, some of India's unicorns that have IPO'd, if you look at just purely the narrative that they're selling in the market, and you look at just their tangible assets, I think you will not be able to arrive at the value at which they're going public. But it is when you look at their IP, you look at their brands, and you look at some of their IP portfolio as a whole, and you look at the multipliers and the assumptions on that, you are able to somewhat achieve. I mean, it's still arguable how they've achieved those valuations, but you're able to somewhat achieve those valuations by changing a few multipliers. So there again, I'm coming back to this IP culture that really defines you. And I believe it is the difference between startups and SMEs. So build this culture and there will be no difference. Build this culture and you will see success. Or let me put it this way. It is not 100% guaranteed that if you build a strong, successful IP culture within your organization, that you will succeed. But I've never seen a company that has succeeded without a strong IP culture. So at some point or the other, there is a correction, and you don't want that correction coming for you when you've got a lot to lose. So do it in the start, build your IP culture. It's as simple as protecting your work, making the right registrations at the right time, ensuring that your employees, anyone working with you, honors agreements of confidentiality and non-disclosure, you enforcing and reprimanding wherever needed any kind of breach of such agreements or any actions that infringe upon your rights. And then, of course, successful licensing, marketing, talking about it, including it in your balance sheet, including it in your narrative. And that is the recipe of the start to building a successful IP culture. That's pretty much it. So there you have it, my last line. And forgive me if I've just touched the tip of the iceberg, but that's really what I wanted to focus up on. Build your IP culture today. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nakul, Utsav, for the invitation and for having me here speaking on this.
Thanks, Raf.
Well, that was very, very impressive and very useful resource for all the eminent attendees and all the guests which have joined us for today's session. And you gave a one of the unique learning which I personally am taking away from this session. This is the trade secret, and how to protect your trade secret is the focus of your presentation. So this is something unique which I'm learning and taking up today. And apart from this, as far as my understanding goes, you shed a light upon all the areas where IP culture is very necessary to be the foundation of any corporate or any organization which comes in. So a beautiful and detailed presentation by you. Thank you so much, Rafael sir,
Thank you.
for your energy. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome our next speaker. So she's none other than Miss Lakshmi Maria Jenkins, and she's the advocate, law practitioner, and consultant. So without taking much time, I'd like to invite her to address and I would also request her to please self-introduce herself, just cause I would be much small to introduce her. Please, ma'am.
Utsav, you cannot be very small for anything. You are the boss here.
No, ma'am. No, your modesty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know me, I'm an advocate working from the last 18 years in the field of litigation, non-litigation. I do a lot of general litigation as well, but as a matter of practice, I have developed a specialty, at least I can call it a specialty with the IP practices. And whether it is a registration or whether it is a matter in any court, I think by the grace of God, we've been successfully able to manage it. So, Utsav, I am going to start exactly now. If anyone has any questions during the PPT, you can maybe put it up in the chat or maybe just ask it directly. I have absolutely no problem because I'm going to try and shoot through the PPT. Okay. So now 1 moment. Okay, this is not the one. Great. So we are here and let's start. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are talking about the impacts and strategies of IPR. Considering that Nakul has asked me to introduce the strategies and the impacts of building businesses, I am not going to go into the details of IP blocks to the extent of me explaining software because I know that most of us don't understand software. So I'm just going to touch the fundamental basics of it. So let me just start the way I have planned it. If you have any questions, any clarifications, you can always button. Okay, so I think till now what we have heard is that definitely one second. Okay, definitely we know that intellectual property is the oil of the 21st century. We have to make ourselves rich with this oil. We have to be able to drill the oil and we have to be able to make multiple products out of this oil. Okay, so what do we do first? First, we try and figure out what sort of things are there. Yeah. If you can see the screen clearly, yes. So we have many types of, just a moment. we have many types of IPs, if you can see. Now, there is a general problem with people who try and differentiate between what an IP is and what an IPR is. I have spoken to a lot of people. So they try to say that, all right, intellectual property is something that you think, intellectual property right is something that you have in your hand. For example, a painting or a sculpture or a trademark registration. I beg to differ that that is not exactly what the narrative of the law or the statute says. The statute is very clear, the law is very clear. It is intellectual property right. You just can't break it up for the advantage of explaining. It is a right which you gain by making your intangible idea a tangible expression. For example, if I have an idea of the rising sun, it will remain an idea and it will not be a right till I paint it on a paper or a canvas and I display the rising sun. In the same manner, if we can see this picture of the brain, till I do not create the image, however brilliant the idea may be in my mind, it is not going to be on a tangible surface. Yes, we call intellectual property rights intangible rights. But at the same time, unless you have a tangible expression of the idea, you can claim nothing. Okay. So when we look at intellectual property, we are looking at patents, trademarks, industrial designs, trade secrets, semiconductor circuits, information technology, copyright, geographical indications, biological diversities, integrated circuits, plant varieties. Raphael has gone into some of them. I have heard previously also ma'am speak about some of them. I am not going to go into the depth of explaining what each one is. What I am going to go into is what are the benefits and the strategies of protecting them. Okay. So now we look at these. What are these? These are the laws that exist in this country with respect to protecting the intellectual property rights that we have. For example, we have the Copyright Act, the Patents Act, the Designs Act, Trademarks Act, the Geographical Indications Act, the Semiconductors, Integrated Circuits Act, protection of plant varieties, biological diversity, information technologies. Why do we have different acts? Because obviously everything cannot be put into one basket. All eggs cannot be put into one basket. Everything will just get spoiled. So we separate them as per subject matter. All right. Next. Why am I showing this? If we can see this image, we see that in 2018, the US border control. Now, what is border control? What we call customs authorities. There are customs authorities across the world. Now, this shows that fake IPR seizures of fake goods at the US borders in the year 2018 were valued at these figures. Now, can you see the figures? So they were fake goods of worth more than $618 million for watches, fake watches and fake jewelry. $226 million in fake handbags and fake wallets, fake pharmaceuticals, personal and fake personal care goods, which are valued at $131 million. Now, how do they calculate this? They would calculate these fake goods based on the pricing of the real goods. And that's exactly how we calculate it even in court. For example, if there is a Hermes bag or if there is a Louis Vuitton bag which sells for 25,000. All right. Now, if you have the exact same make, which is a fake, it will definitely not sell for 25,000. It will sell for 2,000, 1,000. But because of that sale of the fake bag, the real manufacturer has suffered a loss of 25,000. And that is how they count the profits which the infringer makes vis-a-vis the sale of the original goods. Now, what do we learn from this chart? We see that there is an entire market out there in the world which operates on fake, counterfeit goods, infringing materials, and it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. How do we protect ourselves from getting into this, and why should we? For example, if I set up a shop tomorrow, why should I go and register a brand? What is the benefit for me? Why should I go and register my method of doing business? Why should I register a copyright for a book that I have written? What benefit does it bring to me? Okay. This is how I would like to show it to you. So if our SMEs and our MSMEs and even people who are watching this can see this, you will understand how businesses have grown only because of looking after their intellectual property, their branding, their patents, and their designs. Basically those. There are some which have grown because of protecting food recipes. There are some which have grown because of protecting their methods of doing business. There are some which have grown because of protecting their copyrights purely. So let's watch this. Utsav, just let me know if you can hear it. Watching is fine.
Sure, ma'am. We can't hear it, ma'am.
Okay, so it's okay. Just watch it then.
Okay.
If you can see how the brands are changing, what companies are changing, how the strata of business is changing.
Right, ma'am. You're growing like anything.
See the growth, and these are all companies who have protected their intellectual property.
Oh, nice.
See the products, see their goods, see their services, how they have grown.
Right. This is huge, but this is huge.
Now see how the brand values will take a jump.
Oh, yes. I mean, I
The
can see a
valuations
very
of the companies, how they jump.
Right. The gap is
Apple was not there. Apple has just come on the scene now.
Oh yes, yes, yes. So there is a tight competition between IBM and Coca-Cola going on.
Now see how it jumps.
Oh my God, Apple has come up out of the way and overtook some every company. This is really magical. My goodness.
Now Amazon has also come on the scene.
Okay, yes. My God. Amazon is also quickly jumping one level up and again and again coming up on a rapid speed.
And look at, because of the patent registrations, the trademark registrations, how the valuations have jumped.
Right.
Look at Amazon in 4 years, how it has jumped.
My God. Remarkable growing. I mean, remarkable growth I have seen. And Coca-Cola is earlier it was leading it, but now it is not even the half of Apple.
Pardon me?
Coca-Cola was growing on a very fast pace, but now I can see
Exactly.
Coca-Cola is exactly or not at all on the half even of Apple.
That is what I'm saying. See,
Right.
this is how, when we started the chart, it was about food, it was about cars, it was about so many different products. Today, if you're looking at it even from 2018-19 and today in 2021, the charts have completely changed because people are going so aggressive on their trademark protection, brand valuation, patent protection. Look at the top 4 companies are just digital companies. They're just mobile companies. There's Amazon, there's Google, there's Microsoft, then there is Facebook, there is Intel, IBM. Disney is the only television company. That's the only company which makes movies, which is on the charts. McDonald's is the only food chain which is on the charts. There is nobody else. Look at the way things are moving. Today, if you want to make something out of yourself, first thing is that you got to go and tell people who you are. Like, for example, if my name is Lakshmi, if I'm making a product, I got to be able to go and tell people that this is the name of my product, this is the name of my brand. That is the basic introduction that we are giving to the world. Like, for example, what is my brand? If my brand is called Lakshmi, then I have to have a trademark saying Lakshmi. If my trademark is called Lakshmi, I have to have that registration certificate with me. If my book is called Lakshmi, what do I associate my goods and my services with? Like, for example, Raphael said that, there are 2 parts to the trademark. One is the product and the services that you're giving versus the connection that you are going to have. So when you tell the market, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is the way the market will recognize you and it will take you forward. Okay.
Right.
So I hope you all were able to understand this video. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. But a small request are coming from the other speaker side that very less time is remaining, and I request you to please.
I understand. Yeah,
Right.
I'm going to do that. So now, what are the advantages of trademark registration? All right. This is why I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to allow you to read. I'm going to just take a few points out of it. First is it provides exclusive rights to registered owner. Third, and if you are making anything, you want to in the international market, what is the guarantee that that product has standards, that product is following quality control, that product is up to the international standards? Then look at the ninth one. It gives you protection at minimum cost for 10 years. 10, it allows you to use the symbols of the company on the company's logo on the product. You can attract human resources by showing that today ASSOCHAM is such a huge brand. People are becoming members because ASSOCHAM is a huge brand. People know that yes, there is a value to this brand. There is a value to this network. If someone is coming and speaking, that person has some knowledge. So therefore they are calling. So that is how a brand develops. Next. Advantages of patent registration. You can limit the competition. You have an ROI, that's a return on investment. It improves the market presence. You know what your product is, you know what your patent is. It triggers innovation. Okay, now there are some people who would try to improve patents and get new patents on those improved patents. But there are some people who will take the basic science and try to work a new product. Okay, a patented invention is tradable. If you go to a pharmaceutical company and you say that, all right, I have created this thing, this is a solution for this illness, this is the medicine for it. They take it. What is the guarantee that they are going to pay you? If you have made a patent application, if you say, yes, I have a patent pending, they have to take you very seriously. Okay. Next, copyright. What are the benefits? From the content on the web to the author, to the property, to whatever you are writing, to whatever you are painting, to whatever you are sketching. Even a 2-year-old sketches a painting. Imagine Michelangelo at his age, at his old age, people realize, and after he died, people realize that, oh, what a big painter. But if he had a sketch at the age of 2, do you not think that today that would be valuable also? Therefore, that is how copyright is valued. That is the way they look at it. Now, the most important thing that you need to understand today is that India lags behind in the area of valuation of paintings, valuation of antiques, some things which have become precious over millions of years. Next, how do you merchandise? How do you you develop merchandise? How do you monetize your goods? So, for example, I've taken an example of copyright. So you write a book, you create a movie out of it. That motion picture becomes a DVD. From that DVD, you create, those dolls or games, or you have small, for example, you see these superheroes, whether it is Superman, whether it is Spider-Man, whether it is Captain Marvel, you have these small toys, you have Legos, you have television series, you have recordings, you have podcasts, you have video games, you have characters. All these things are ways of monetizing the copyright, which is a bundle of rights. It is a single right, and yet it covers so many people and so many things. Why would you want to monetize your intellectual property? Because it gives you the potential to develop with other people and get into a co-development phase. Somebody else comes out with an idea which will improve your products. You can create new products. You can license your trademark, your brand. You can franchise it. You can get into a situation where you earn money. If you have spent 5,000 or 10,000 for your trademark registration, by licensing and by franchising, you will earn lakhs of rupees. That is what McDonald's is doing all over the world. Securitization, you value it. You can give it as a security against future business. If you are going to take a loan or a mortgage or get into a joint venture with people, you can do licensing, you can do a sale, you can buy back. These are not things that once you sell, you cannot buy back. If your relationships are good with your business partners, they will always sell it to you back after 10 years. You do business for it for 10 years and then give it back. These are so many ways in which you can monetize your intellectual property. Okay, now the reason why you need to do all this is this. You see this? This is all existing. You have to forgive the one bad image, but this is what exists in China, in Iran, in North Korea, where you cannot go and say that, no, this is my trademark. In fact, I had sent it to one of my very good friends who's a lawyer in the United States. I'd sent these images and she told me only one thing. She said, these images are found only in China and in North Korea. And in the Middle East, somewhere you will find this. It is so difficult for us to do something like this. These are countries who don't want to cooperate with the world. So when they don't cooperate, you have this problem. Imagine, you can see the first image. There is a whole lane somewhere in China where they have Starbucks coffee.
Oh my God.
Imagine how bad Starbucks must be feeling. They can't do anything about it. Okay, look at this. Chanel, only because it is misspelled. And mark my words, these people have registrations, okay, in China, North Korea, in Iran, and all these places. They have registrations from their trademark registry. They have certificates. Nobody can take them down. So if you see this, now look at that, Chanel. It is just wrongly spelled. But there's a whole avenue dedicated to them. You have Rolex. Look at the down portion of the screen. It's become Rolex. Look at Prada, what has become. It is Dolce and Banana instead of Dolce and Gabbana. You have Pizza Hut. It's getting worse and worse, and these people are registered in their countries. You can't do anything. In fact, the going concern is that if somebody files an application in India and the next day a similar application is filed in China, and their registrations get through faster. That is the growing concern among the lawyers. Okay, look at McDonald's instead of McDonald's. Okay, this is what happens if you don't get registrations for your brands. Imagine a small startup, he doesn't register his brand, he wants to open a shop. What happens? Look at this. This is Delhi, by the way, huh? Left hand side. It's Pizza Hut and A Domino Pizza. And they have registrations for this. You can't close it because they are getting registrations for this. You see Hermes, this person has just reversed the M and it's Hermes Paris, but it's in China. Okay, look at these goods. Look at the names. You can see Ferrari shoes. You have KFC.
A lot of stuff is coming in India as well. I mean, I remember, I went to Delhi's Chandni Chowk last time, and I saw various of Reebok and Nike. So that was really sad and painful to see such a brands are these people are making brands into a trash bin. So yeah.
Correct. But in fact, I'm sure many of our other panelists, many of our other speakers also have seen this. This is a growing concern. And therefore, when you do registrations, at least you have that security that I am a secured person. I have a reputation in the market. I am a brand, and people will recognize the brand. See, if I go to a market, I will not buy a Nokia camera because I know Nokia is something else. I will not buy these shampoos. I will not buy this thing because I know the brand. Once the brand is in the market, once it's registered, we know what it is. I mean, look at Lacoste, what they've done with the perfume. So, look at this. From Coca-Cola to Fair and Lovely to Bisleri. Look at what they've done. Fanta. So these are issues which happen when you don't register. Some more. You see Adidas, Nike, Jack Daniels, Kingfisher. Now these are medicines. Now pharmaceutical industry, when you don't register, this is what happens. Now you start chasing after them Of course, it is an effort, but if you don't chase after them, people will die of eating the wrong medicine. Okay, this is infringement and plagiarism in the fashion industry. See, it is not Burberry, it is Blueberry. It is not Lacoste, it has become lactose. So you see the bags, see the fashion, the design, it is all copied. So if you don't register your fashion designs, the design of your dress as a copyright, this is what is going to happen. And therefore, the most important thing is that our SMEs and our industries, whether you're big, small, anybody, you need to find an advisor, you need to find a consultant, you need to find a legal advisor who will be able to advise you properly on how to protect your intellectual property. That's very important. Now we are looking at different ways to protect intellectual property. Now I'm going to run through this very fast, but I'm sure you also know about it. Now, the first one is obviously apply for your trademarks, patents and copyrights. Don't leave that कि हमारा पैसा आएगा तब हम करेंगे. नहीं, that is not done. This is your investment. If you invest a small amount today, you will get a very large amount only on that small investment. Never stop innovating. Don't think कि भाई हम registration का कुछ नहीं हुआ, so let's not do something further. You will do something further. Now, third thing is very important. You will arrange evidence whilst you are innovating. So when you are, as your business is growing, as things are happening, you will manage evidence, and therefore you will take legal consultants' opinion, you will take lawyers' opinion, you will take somebody who advises you on the IP. What are the kind of documents that you will save as evidence that yes, this trademark is
Right.
mine and it is not pirated, it is not stolen. Fourth, you will have separate teams. You will use IP blocks. What are IP blocks? It's very fundamental. For example, I have a latch on my door which does not allow unwanted visitors to enter my door. In the same manner, there is something which is called a firewall for computer systems. Now, this is the age-old definition and it still holds. What do? You do a kind of a programming which generally firewall experts do, which do not allow certain internet protocols. IP is internet protocol also. So do not allow IP addresses of certain computers to enter your system. For example, the biggest international threat today is North Korea. The US
Okay,
has
I'm really
labeled
sorry to
North Korea.
interrupt. I'm really
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but we are running out of time, and I request you to please conclude.
conclude. Okay, fine.
Yes.
No problem.
Yes.
Okay. So this is all right. Then I am going to leave it at this.
We are very sad to say this, ma'am, but yeah.
Yeah, that's not a
We were
problem.
knowing it, this was really interesting from your own side, and a lot of efforts which you have put in, and you gave a deep
Not a
insight
problem.
over things. It is pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry.
Right.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Thanks,
Don't worry.
thanks, Lakshmi. It was a
Yeah.
wonderful presentation, I must say.
Yeah. 1 second. Huh?
So yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so
Utsav,
much.
Utsav.
are you able to hear me, Utsav?
Yes, sir. I'm able to hear you.
Okay. So I just want to say a few things. Is it possible?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. So I think all the four participants did wonderful justice to the topic. Ms. Julie, she introduced the topic very well and talked about her journey, made an association between her journey and whom she met and how innovators and creators came about in her experience in her activities, and she discussed that. Especially, she put the thrust on skill development, which was very interesting. Sejal talked about the importance of intellectual property in our own as an entrepreneur, which I found very different and interesting in the sense that we always wanted an industry perspective and we got it from Sejal. So that was very nice. Uh, part where we discussed trade secrets.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
how to protect your secrets. And last but not least, Lakshmi spoke comprehensively well, where she discussed various facets of duplication in brands and other aspects. And I think it was very interesting, especially the 3 jurisdictions where she represented. Not able to.
So your voice is breaking.
Because I thank each and every speaker, and I give the floor back to Utsav. Utsav, you can take over from here.
Thank you so much, sir, for your concluding remarks. And now with this, I would like to thank each one of the panelists, starting from you itself, Dr. Nakul Sherdral, the chairman for IP committee and SHM Gujarat from SHM Gujarat Council and founder for NS Legal. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. And to continue my thanking process with, I'd like to thank next Miss Julie Desai for her deep and beautiful insights which she carried. And it was fun loving, and but we were having paucity of time, and the time constant was a major thing, so we couldn't proceed with a whole lot of a presentation. And we look forward to having your presentation, ma'am, next time soon in a very detailed manner. Once again, I'd like to thank you. Then I'd like to thank Mr. Rafael Pereira, the managing partner for Tenets. Thank you, sir, so much, sir, for your time, for your beautiful insights which you carried. Next, I'd like to thank Miss Lakshmi Maria Jenkins. Ma'am, again, I'm really sorry that your PPT could not be completed on time due to the time constraints. So next time soon we are going to plan one more event, and that too with a lot of time to hear from you as well. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your time once again. Now I'd like to thank Miss Sejal Purohit. Then we unfortunately we couldn't hear from Miss Rucha Bandari, as the time constant was there, and she was having some important tasks to do. But certainly, as I promised, next time soon we are planning and coming up with something very vibrant from the platform of SHM Gujarat Council. Stay tuned, guys. Thank you so much. And as far as the resources are concerned and the Q&A are concerned, we'll be doing it from the email side. Anything to be added from the panel?
No,
Thank you
no
so
thanks.
much.
I believe you can just close it.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, sir.
Thank
so
you,
much.
thank you, thank you.
Okay.